My name is Danielle. I'm 35 years old. 3 weeks ago, I buried my husband and my 8-year-old daughter on the same gray Tuesday morning, and my parents weren't there. They weren't sick. They weren't stuck in traffic. They were on a beach in Cancun with my brother and his family, sipping drinks with little umbrellas in them, while I stood over two caskets and tried to remember how to breathe. 8 days later, my mother called, not to apologize, to ask me for $40,000. If you truly love and appreciate your parents, take just 1 second to subscribe to this channel. It means a lot to us. And before you go, tell me in the comments, which country are you watching from? The accident happened on a Thursday night. My husband Aaron was driving our daughter Lily home from gymnastics practice when a delivery truck ran a red light and crushed the driver's side of our minivan. Aaron died instantly. Lily held on for 6 hours in the ICU before the machines couldn't do anything more. I got the call at 9:47 p.m. I remember the exact time because I've replayed that moment 1,000 times, trying to find some version of that night where I picked up the phone sooner, where anything changed the outcome. Nothing changes the outcome. They're both gone, and I'm still here, which some days feels like the cruelest part of the whole thing. When I called my mother to tell her, she cried, or made the sounds of crying, the kind that come out fast and performative and stop the second the call ends. She said she'd call back. She didn't for 2 days. When she finally did, she asked when the funeral was. I told her Tuesday. She got quiet in a way that should have warned me. But grief makes you stupid and trusting, because you assume everyone around you is operating from the same well of devastation you are. She said Tuesday wouldn't work. They had a trip booked. Mexico. Non-refundable. I held the phone away from my face like it had bitten me, because surely I'd misheard. Surely my mother wasn't telling me that a vacation booked months ago took priority over watching her son-in-law and her only grandchild lowered into the ground. But she was. She said it plainly, almost irritated I was making her repeat herself. The funeral, she said, was a trivial event, not worth attending when weighed against losing the deposit on a resort suite. Trivial. My husband of 11 years, my daughter, the only grandchild she would ever have from me, reduced to a scheduling inconvenience that lost out to an all-inclusive package. I didn't even have the energy to scream. I just hung up and sat on my kitchen floor for a long time. The same floor where Lily used to do her homework while I made dinner. The same floor Aaron used to lie on to wrestle with her after work, laughing until she shrieked. I sat there until it got dark, and I didn't bother turning on the lights. The funeral happened without them. My brother Trevor didn't come either. 2 caskets, one impossibly small, and a church half full of Aaron's coworkers, my few close friends, and his elderly aunt who flew in from Ohio despite needing a cane to walk. My parents' seat sat empty in the front row, the row reserved for the people who supposedly loved us most. I found out later, through a cousin who still talks to me, that they posted photos from the resort that same week. My mother in a sundress by an infinity pool. My father holding a coconut drink. Both of them smiling like nothing in the world had touched them. 3 states away, I was choosing a headstone for my little girl. I went quiet after that, which for anyone who knows me is its own kind of warning sign, because I am not a person who goes quiet when I'm hurt. But 8 days later, that quiet was about to break wide open. My phone rang. It was my mother. Her voice was light, casual, like she was calling to ask about a recipe. She said she and my father needed to talk to me about something important, something financial, and it really couldn't wait. I should have hung up right then. But some small foolish part of me still wanted to believe she was calling to apologize. She wasn't. She was calling to ask me for $40,000. Her voice was so calm asking for that money that for a moment I thought I'd misheard, the same way I thought I'd misheard her about the funeral. She said it the way someone asks to borrow a cup of sugar. When I asked why, she said Trevor had gotten into trouble with a restaurant investment gone sideways, and the family needed to come together to help him before he lost his house. Come together. The same family that couldn't come together long enough to sit in a church pew for 45 minutes. I asked her directly if she understood what she was asking a woman who had buried her husband and daughter 11 days earlier to do. Her tone sharpened, almost accusing. She said I'd probably gotten a large life insurance payout, and it wasn't fair for me to be sitting on that money while my brother lost everything. Family helps family, she said, completely unaware of the irony dripping off every word. I told her I needed to think about it, mostly to get off the phone before I said something I couldn't take back. She said fine, but they needed an answer by the weekend because the bank was calling Trevor's loan due. After I hung up, I sat with that phone in my lap for a long time, and something in me that had been numb for 11 days finally cracked open into something colder and clearer. I wasn't just sad anymore. I was done being quiet. I called her back 2 days later and told her that my father and Trevor should come to my house Saturday afternoon, since family seemed to matter so much to her when money was involved. She sounded pleased, like she'd already spent the $40,000 in her head. Saturday came, and they arrived together, all three of them wearing that same plastic resort smile from the photos. I'd asked Aaron's brother Spencer to sit in the next room, and I set my phone on the coffee table recording, not hidden, just sitting there in plain view because I wanted them to know exactly what was happening. I started by asking my father calmly to repeat what my mother had told me about the funeral being trivial. He hesitated, glancing at her. She jumped in, said it had come out wrong, that she'd been stressed about the trip. I told her I had saved the voicemail where she said almost the exact words, and I played 11 seconds of it right there on the table. The room went silent. Trevor wouldn't look at me. My father's jaw tightened, but he said nothing, the way he always says nothing when things get uncomfortable. Letting my mother absorb the impact alone. I told them I had spent 11 days planning 2 funerals, picking out a coffin small enough for an 8-year-old, while they posted pool photos from a resort. I told them about the $40,000. I said I had received a payout from Aaron's policy, and I had already decided what to do with every cent of it, none of which involved bailing out a failed restaurant investment for a brother who couldn't be bothered to show up either. My mother started to argue, said I was being cruel and dramatic, that this was exactly the kind of thing that tears families apart over money. I told her the money had nothing to do with what tore this family apart. What tore it apart happened the moment she chose an infinity pool over her granddaughter's funeral. That was when I watched their faces actually change. All three at once. The practiced calm draining out, something close to real fear creeping in. Because they realized I wasn't bluffing, and I wasn't going to be guilted back into the role of obedient daughter who quietly funds their mistakes. My father finally spoke, said they'd made a mistake, that they were sorry, but it came out flat and rehearsed, more concerned with damage control than with Lily or Aaron. I told them I appreciated the apology, but apologies don't undo absence. And that, from that day forward, I no longer considered them my parents in any meaningful sense. And Trevor was no longer my brother. I said they were welcome to call themselves my family on paper, on a birth certificate somewhere, but real family shows up, and they had proven exactly what kind of people they were when it mattered most. They left my house that afternoon without the money and without me. I haven't spoken to any of them since. I built a small memorial garden in my backyard for Aaron and Lily instead, somewhere I can sit every evening and talk to them. Somewhere that means more to me than $40,000 ever could. Somewhere that belongs only to the people who actually loved me.